an unbelievable athlete, an unbelievable student, a trustee. She sits on the athletic board. She's been just a wonderful advisor for us, Nnenna Lynch.
So they didn't tell me about the video. That was a little embarrassing. So how cool is tonight? We should do this more often. What do you think, Lynn? Where are you? Yeah? Next year? So before I begin my remarks, I'd like to acknowledge 3 people who are not only meaningful to me, but significant to the larger endeavor of women's athletics at Villanova. First is the person most responsible for my attending Villanova. Uncle Marty. Uncle Marty, you put women's track here at Villanova on the map, I think it's fair to say, and you set dozens of women, myself included, on high-flying trajectories, and for that, I thank you. The second person I'd like to thank is our athletic director, Mark Jackson. It's really been remarkable. He's only been at Villanova for 4 years, but has seamlessly integrated himself into the Villanova family and is an amazing combination of professionalism and enthusiasm. Mark, wherever you are, it's been a pleasure to work with you, and we appreciate all you do for women's athletics. And then finally, and this is definitely last but not least, the woman who spearheaded this event tonight, Lynn Tai. Lynn worked tirelessly and always with good cheer, as she always does. It's a pleasure to work with you. You're an inspiration. Thank you, Lynn. So when Lynn first reached out to me about this event, my first question was, what was the origin story? How did the athletics program start? Was it student-led, administration-led? Was it contentious? What's the story? And what I learned is, I'm going to paraphrase what I learned, that this program essentially was started by young women asserting themselves, saying, we want to participate, we want a team, we want to compete. And coaches, such as Bob Langren, and administration responding, for the most part, with grace, saying, yes, let's do this, let's make this happen. I think it's a beautiful story and a great legacy for our program. And so here we are 50 years later, and we've accomplished a lot. 56 NCAA titles. Not bad. 61 conference championships. So naturally, I was curious about how that compared to the men. So it turns out the men have only won 50 conference championships. So women 61, men 50. And I said, well, that's really strange because they did have like a little bit of a head start, like 100 years or so. But never mind. And of course, women have shown not only on the athletic field. It's interesting to note that of the 3 Rhodes Scholars that Villanova has produced, not only are all 3 women, all 3 are women athletes. So just a quick message to the men's coaches out there. Jay, I saw you here earlier. Marcus. Guys, we love you, but try and keep up, okay? No, in all seriousness, being an athlete is not really about winning championships and awards. at least not entirely. No, at heart, being an athlete is about having ambition. It's about having a vision for yourself and your team. It's about working hard, overcoming obstacles, and striving to be your best self, all while elevating your team and those around you. In truth, simply being an athlete is a blessing. To have the health, energy, and talent to participate, let alone the opportunity to compete at the collegiate level, is an amazing gift. And it's a particular honor to get to represent this very special institution. It's funny because it's actually quite unlikely that I would have attended Villanova, let alone find myself in this role. To begin, Villanova wasn't really on the radar of my family and friends. My father hailed from a tiny village in Trinidad and Tobago and landed at Columbia University by way of Canada, England, and Nigeria. My mother was from a small town in Canada. I went to public school in New York City that had never produced a collegiate athlete, and I was raised Episcopalian. So there was nothing about my social circle that was guiding me here. And then there was my recruiting story. So naturally, I was attracted by the standout women's track program. I will never forget seeing Vicki Huber compete in the 1988 Seoul Olympics while she was still enrolled as a student here. And then there were Penn Relays legends, Kathy Franey, Michelle Bennett, Gina Procaccio. So I came on a recruiting visit here and later signed a letter of intent. But like many confused and immature 18-year-olds, I had major second thoughts. So I called the coach at the time, Uncle Marty, and I told him I had changed my mind. I do not want to come to Villanova. At first, he said, no problem. I'm not going to force it. But ultimately, he did not release me from the contract. So I came to Villanova. I came with a major chip on my shoulder. I'm talking major, maybe 2 chips. My plan was to stay for a year. I was going to get good grades. I was going to do well in track, and then I was going to transfer, and that was going to be that. Obviously, that's not how it turned out. Within the first term, I met professors who inspired me. I fell in love with learning, and we won our first NCAA championship. It was as if by coming to Villanova, I had reluctantly agreed to date what I thought was a frog, only to realize it was actually a prince. And in many ways, my story at Villanova was a little bit like a fairy tale. Our cross-country team went on to win 4 consecutive titles, something that was unprecedented. I won an individual title in my junior year. I became Villanova's first Rhodes Scholar and was later named NCAA Woman of the Year. Thank you. And it's interesting because I went on to have a pretty good career as a professional runner. I traveled the world, I represented the US, and even won a world title. Yet, my happiest time as an athlete was here. And I was reflecting on why that is. And the answer was immediately obvious. It's because of the support and sense of community that I felt as an athlete here. I'm sometimes asked, what's the most important thing you've learned from being an athlete, all those years of running and competing? And I used to answer, well, the importance of discipline and goal setting, something along those lines. But now, if asked that question, I would answer, the most important thing I've learned from being an athlete is the importance of community. And that may seem like a counterintuitive answer, particularly coming from a runner. However, that answer reflects what I've come to learn is true. To be our best as individuals, we need the support of many: family, friends, coaches, teammates, training partners, physical therapists, professors, tutors, mentors, advisors, you name it. So while tonight is clearly a celebration of women athletes, it is also a celebration of everyone who has and continues to enable the pursuit of excellence. So here's to the coaches and administrators who support, motivate, and inspire young women to be their best selves. And to my fellow athletes, current and former, may you continue to assert yourselves, be ambitious, and strive to be your best self, no matter what your endeavor. All while knowing you have this amazing community behind you. Thank you.